Whatever you want to do in life, find something that you don't mind doing for the rest of your life. And even if it seems like it's impossible, don't give up, because a year ago, I was finna quit.
What is it that drives you to go that hard, though?
The love for music. I want to talk about it in music because I'm able to explain myself and talk about it in whatever, you know, in whichever way I want to. So it gives me a lot of room to really explain the way I feel. Make sure my family and all my close ones are taken care of. That's success in my eyes. You know, like I like to spread joy. I like to make people happy. I like to create connections with music and, you know, vibes and bring people together.
On December 8th in 2019, Juice WRLD alongside his girlfriend Ali Lottie and a few others were flying in a private jet landing in Chicago. While on board having fun with his girlfriend and friends, the mood on the plane would drastically change into a state of panic as Juice WRLD and his team would be informed by his security guards mid-flight that his private jet was now being tracked. As the feds were awaiting his arrival at the Chicago Midway International Airport alongside Special Forces police teams, K9 tracking dogs, as well as security staff at the airport. But how would law enforcement know that Juice WRLD was carrying 70 pounds of illegal narcotics on this plane? Did it have something to do with Ali Lottie's countless cases of trafficking charges, Juice WRLD's Instagram live streams showing all of this illegal stuff off, or was it all a setup for Juice WRLD to finally distance himself from the spotlight as he's always wanted? Now, in the court files of Juice WRLD's passing, it reveals that Jared Higgins has been using for many years. As in an early interview, Juice WRLD would state, "What do you expect? If I'm a young dude that really loves music and I really look up to these artists, I don't have a man giving me no type of guidance. My father wasn't in my life like that. So listening to these grown men talk about narcotics, I'm like, well, that sounds pretty appealing." As he would tell Complex that he tried narcotics for the first time in the 6th grade. Narcotics use has always been an issue for Juice WRLD. A week prior to his passing, it was reported that Juice WRLD had been sneaking around doing narcotics a lot more in and out of the studio. So much to the point that Juice WRLD had to have many conversations with family, friends, and management about getting clean. One of his best friends named Lord shared in an interview, "We were all starting to be on his case a lot more about the amount of narcotics that he was taking." He says, "He was hiding and categorizing how much he would be doing with different people. He'd come in the studio room and act like he hasn't done any narcotics all day. He would then do a certain amount in there before I tell him, bro, no, chill. He would then leave the studio, go upstairs and hang out with a different group of people and do the exact same thing." These conversations that Juice WRLD had with loved ones ended up actually working, as Jared agreed to getting treatment. As later in that week, Lord mentioned during the tour of Australia, the one that ended just a week prior to Juice's passing, that Lord alongside his family and friends confronted Juice WRLD all together about his use. As he stated, "We had just broken down a lot of barriers with him," Lord explains. "I and a couple other people had come to him in tears, like, we're worried about you and we're scared we're gonna lose you if you keep up these habits, and we have to do something," and he agreed. And we had then booked treatment for later, starting on December 22nd, as that was the soonest that they were available to get him in. It hurts, it really hurts. Now, 1 week after that conversation that Juice WRLD had with his family and friends, as well as ending their tour of Australia, Juice WRLD alongside those same family and friends would all hop onto a private jet to head home to Chicago. While boarding the plane that was already late for around 50 minutes, things started to feel strange to Juice WRLD and his friends.
It was acting weird, the stewardess lady was acting weird, and I just felt something off. I got up to like, yo, we should leave. You know what I mean? I got up and walked to the door and then like,
crazy.
To see if the cars were still there, and I'm like, because I was gonna be like, yo, let's just go off this plane right now. Like,
as he would end up being correct. Now, sources claim the pilot was the first one on the plane. Then while Juice WRLD and company were boarding the plane with all of their luggage, the pilot could smell narcotics. This would then leave him to exit the plane, call law enforcement to create a tip, and this created a massive setup on Juice WRLD in Chicago. Now, on Juice WRLD's private jet, he had multiple illegal items, from 70 pounds of narcotics stuffed into suitcases, 2 firearms with high-capacity ammunition magazines, as well as a bag full of narcotics pills. This made many blame the pilot for Juice WRLD's passing, including Ali herself.
I've lost 2 of the most important people in my life
because of snitches.
Now, law enforcement would tell the pilot to continue as usual, having the flight go into the air with all of these illegal items. Everything was going normal, finally, when they took off. Now, this was until arriving in Chicago, where they got to the point where they were allowed to turn off airplane mode on their phones. There was 5 minutes left until they landed. Juice WRLD's team would then receive a text.
Everything was normal and everything was fine. And once we started getting closer to Chicago and we started getting service on our phones, our security guard, Hen, texted the group chat and was basically like, cops are here and they have a dog.
Now, it was at this moment where everyone began to panic in the private jet. While doing so, Juice WRLD would then have some of the narcotics that were stored in his carry-on bag. Law enforcement believe that during the flight, when Juice WRLD and his team were told they were awaiting their arrival, Juice WRLD ingested more and more in an attempt to hide them from the authorities, as the plane was rented in Juice WRLD's name, meaning all of the illegal items on the flight would have allegedly been put on his name when law enforcement searched his plane. Now, we're unsure of the exact amount of time Juice WRLD would have been locked up in prison for, but according to rap lawyers, they predict a maximum of 20 years inside a federal prison. And this would be for using a private jet to transport 70 pounds of narcotics across the United States, as well as 2 illegal firearms and high-capacity magazines. Hearing all of that information would then cause anyone to freak out and get nervous. Doctors say when you ingest all of the things that Juice WRLD took on that plane, mixed in with all of the nerves of knowing law enforcement is awaiting your arrival, Juice WRLD's heart would then go into overdrive, which then sadly caused the issue inside of the airport. Now, when it did happen and they landed, the ambulance was then quickly called to the scene. But it was at this point where the feds were not even worried about Juice WRLD. They wanted to know what was on this jet, and they went after the luggage before even helping Juice WRLD on the private jet. Witnesses then claim that Juice WRLD was then transported to emergency care, where he would sadly then pass. While paramedics would finally help Juice, the feds and canines were going through the luggage that was on his plane. The dogs were quick to sniff out all of the illegal items, which would then raise the question of why would Juice WRLD even attempt bringing this on a plane? It would later then be revealed why Juice WRLD brought the 70 pounds on the flight, as right before his passing, a birthday party for him was scheduled for the following day, as mentioned by his filmer Chris.
Weekend, we're going to Chicago to celebrate his birthday. It was just his birthday the other day, but we're going this weekend. It's Saturday. We're flying out there. We're gonna have a birthday party with his mom and family and friends and stuff like that from out there. So.
Now, 2 of the rapper's security guards were arrested at the scene for the firearms that they brought on. Then later, Juice WRLD's photographer was also arrested, and he was booked and charged with a misdemeanor firearm violation. With an investigation now in place, rapper Boosie suggested that the pilot of the plane was ultimately responsible for the passing of Juice WRLD, referring to the pilot as a snitch, as Jared Higgins actually was under suspicion by federal authorities for the last year following this incident because of something that occurred in November of 2019 before he departed for Australia, which could have prompted a search of his plane. Now, even with all of the evidence on Juice WRLD's passing, there are still some bits of evidence which could make people believe that he is still alive. Now, people looked a lot into Juice WRLD's music, and in his big hit song, All Girls Are the Same, Juice WRLD would say the lyrics, "I'm a jealous boy, I really feel like John Lennon." In case you're unaware, John Lennon, he passed on December 8th, which is the exact same day that Juice WRLD did as well, as Juice has mentioned in countless interviews that he is a massive John Lennon fan and always has been. And not only in that lyric, but Juice WRLD would also make a song dedicated to XXXTentacion and Lil Peep, and in the lyrics he would state, "We ain't making it past 21, which is the same age where Juice WRLD would sadly pass. There's also a variety of tweets of Juice WRLD himself saying things that weirdly relate a lot to how he passed and why he would want to, such as the one of him wanting to rise to fame quickly and then just faking his passing so he can enjoy a nice carefree life and not needing to worry about any sort of money.